I mean, there's so much going on. Almost 98% of it driven by what comes out of Donald Trump's mouth or his social media posts in the last 6 weeks. I can't get my head round any consistent strategy or logic to pretty much any of this.
So Piers Morgan just delivered one of his most scathing takedowns of Trump's presidency. And given their personal history, this carries serious weight. Morgan isn't some liberal pundit. He's defended Trump for years. When someone who knows you personally says you've lost the plot, that's devastating. Let's break this down.
And I've really reached the conclusion that he got into something, almost certainly at the enthusiastic behest of Israel. He's got into something that he now wishes he could get out of, but he's no idea how to get out of it.
This nails the core issue. Netanyahu sold Trump on a fantasy that Iran's regime would collapse within weeks, the people would rise up, and America would emerge victorious. The New York Times revealed how Israeli intelligence painted this rosy scenario. Now Trump's trapped in an unwinnable war that's destroying his domestic agenda.
Ultimately, though, if this all ends with the regime remaining in place, albeit with different people at the top, but all from the same regime with the same ideology, if the enriched uranium remains buried underground and the Americans and Israelis can't get their hands on it and the Iranians don't surrender it, and the Strait of Hormuz is now established as an incredibly effective strategic weapon and Iran maintains some form of control over it, it's very hard to see how President Trump claims any real tangible victory here, and how the Iranian regime doesn't emerge, not just surviving, albeit with its military smashed up a bit, which it clearly has been, but actually possibly emboldened by all this.
This is the strategic disaster in a nutshell. Trump promised to end foreign wars and fix inflation. Instead, oil prices have tripled, groceries are skyrocketing, and Iran just proved it can strangle global energy supplies. Every time you fill up your tank, you're funding this foreign policy failure that betrays every America First promise.
It would be irrevocably damaged, then the people would rise up and they'd all be so distracted that no one would notice the Straits of Hormuz and it would be irrelevant.
Exactly right. The Times reported that Israeli intelligence assured Trump the Ayatollah's death would trigger regime collapse and popular uprising. 6 weeks later, Iran's more unified than ever, their nuclear program intact, and they've weaponized the Strait of Hormuz. Netanyahu's predictions were completely wrong, and Trump bought it entirely.
Well, last night, Trump turned his attention on an even bigger target. The Pope, His Holiness, has taken a not unreasonable position on the Iran war, namely that threatening to destroy civilization is unacceptable and that God doesn't like war. The president responded by saying that he doesn't like the Pope. And then a move that angered even some of his most loyal supporters, Trump posted this image of himself as Jesus Christ. Now, plenty of people have been pointing out to the president that the religious fanatics led by a divine strongman are supposed to be on the other side.
This is unprecedented territory. Leo XIV is the first American pope in centuries, and Trump's attacking him for opposing genocide. The Jesus Christ image crossed every line. Even Marjorie Taylor Greene called it blasphemous. When you're alienating evangelical voters by mocking Christianity, you've lost all political sense.
I mean, there's so many extraordinary things that have happened in the last 6 weeks, but the new Iranian president, Masoud Pezeshkian, posted today, His Holiness Pope Leo, I condemn the insult to your excellency on behalf of the great nation of Iran and declare that the desecration of Jesus, the prophet of peace and brotherhood, is not acceptable to any free person.
The optics are absolutely devastating. Iran's president is defending the Pope and Christianity, while America's president attacks both. Trump has handed Tehran the ultimate propaganda victory, positioning Iran as the defender of religious values against American blasphemy. This is exactly backwards from where we should be.
I just think his behavior is the most erratic I've ever seen. I don't think you can hide behind, well, he's always like this, he likes to... It's more than that. It's almost like he's on some weird frenzied mission now to just piss off as many people as he can humanly do for reasons that I don't, when you put it in totality, it's like, as you said, what is the end game?
This assessment is spot on because it comes from someone who's known Trump personally for decades. The behavior described here goes beyond Trump's usual provocations. He's simultaneously attacking the Pope, his own supporters, religious imagery, and threatening genocide. That's not strategy. That's a man who's completely lost control.
One was he was not going to drag America into pointless, expensive Middle Eastern wars. He's now dragged them into the biggest and most expensive one he could have done, and from where I sit, at the moment, the most pointless. Secondly, he was going to take care of cost of living. He was going to bring down inflation. And all that. Well, the complete opposite is happening.
These broken promises are killing him politically. Gas prices have hit $6 in some states, grocery bills are crushing families, and we're spending billions daily on a war that's achieving nothing. Trump ran on America First economics and delivered America Last foreign policy disasters that directly hurt working families.
You've got the Tuckers and the Megyn Kellys and the Candace Owens, Alex Jones. But you've also got Joe Rogan, Theo Von, hugely influential podcasters. 70 million people watched Trump's interview with Joe Rogan before the election. It probably helped get him over the line with young men.
Losing these voices is politically catastrophic. Rogan's endorsement delivered young male voters who put Trump over the top. Tucker, Kelly, and Owens shaped conservative opinion for years. When Alex Jones suggests the 25th Amendment, you've lost the conspiracy theorists too. This coalition fracture could doom the midterms completely.
I read the thing about, wanting to wipe out an entire civilization. I was really appalled by that. I just thought this is just a brazen statement of intent about potentially committing an act of genocide against the Iranian people.
This genocide rhetoric is completely indefensible. 90 million Iranians, that's more than the entire population of Germany. Threatening to wipe out an entire civilization isn't foreign policy, it's the language of ethnic cleansing. This crosses moral and legal lines that should horrify every American regardless of party.
I would say he has actually pretty good gut instinct normally, which is not necessarily the normal political smarts or huge intellect or whatever those things, but that his gut instincts have actually often been quite good.
That's what makes this so alarming. His political instincts were always his strength. Reading crowds, sensing momentum, knowing what resonated. But even those survival skills have abandoned him now. When your greatest asset becomes your biggest weakness, you're in serious trouble politically and psychologically.
It is certainly true from what Rubio initially said and from the New York Times piece that Trump was put under an enormous amount of pressure by Netanyahu and the Israeli government because they painted a picture of a sequence of events that simply hasn't materialized.
Foreign pressure doesn't excuse presidential responsibility. Every president faces lobbying from allies, but ultimately the buck stops with the commander-in-chief. Trump chose this war, Trump escalated it, and Trump owns the consequences. Blaming Netanyahu for your own decisions is exactly the weak leadership America rejected in other presidents.
Pretty well looking like he's on a rampage of I guess, trying to find people to blame for what many people now think is turning into an enormous mess.
The blame game confirms political desperation. His approval rating has cratered 15 points since the war began. Republicans are trailing in every swing district, and donors are pulling funding. Instead of changing course, he's attacking everyone from the Pope to his own supporters. That's not leadership, that's panic.